Okay, your PERT and Gantt charts. Generally speaking, I'm happy. You'll see, we'll go through these relatively quickly. Variety of approaches and formats. There were one or two I thought were maybe a touch sparse, but on the other hand, you're on very short-term projects, so it depends on which one to chuck. Some were remarkably detailed. And my feedback on that is good for you because the more detailed your PERT and Gantt charts are, the more you have an idea of everything you're going to have to do to finish the project. And your estimate, at least your estimate of the work that needs to be done, is likely to be more accurate. Now, whether or not the durations you gave them are accurate is a whole other issue. So, let's dim the lights again here. There we go. Status reports. I really like the status reports, by the way. This first semester I've used them, as I said. I find they're giving me great insight into each of your projects, much more so than having, you sit up and try and give me, or stand up and try and give me a 1-minute overview. Probably the biggest thing I noticed is that a lot of you are pretty still light on billable hours. You're 4 weeks away from your first demo. You should be putting 6 to 7 hours in each week on these. And if you're having trouble finding the work to do, then I suggest you find new ways to chunk the project so that you can divvy it up. But other than that, I really like it. All of you should be reading your team status reports so that you can give your project manager or whoever's preparing the status report feedback, saying, "Wait, this isn't accurate." And also so you know where things stand, and frankly so you know who's pulling your weight and who isn't. That's an important part of the team. Okay, why do you do PERT and Gantt charts? Appropriate estimation of tasks, thinking through all the tasks that need to be done. That's one of the most important things for this exercise. Like I said, some of you chunked it pretty big, so you have like maybe 4 or 5 tasks from beginning to end. It's like, okay, that's a little light. But on the other hand, you have 4 weeks to the first demo right now. But thinking through the tasks that need to be done and identifying your critical paths from your critical paths. Okay, here, most of these I'll have just right in here, but these, the formats were such that, oh, you're not going to give me a hard time here. Okay. That was trash talk. I was We're using Microsoft Project, tried to export to PDF, and it did real bizarre things. So here you actually have, and what you have is like blank pages, and then it's there, and blank pages, more blank pages. That's just wretched. And given how many years Microsoft Project has been around, it should do a better job than this of exporting. So this was a highly detailed one. Who wants to talk about this? Yeah.
So, given the feedback that our requirements were a little light, I tried to make this more detailed, so it reflected the actual work that had to be done. And Microsoft Project just made it really easy it would calculate the critical path for you and your critical paths. And so that's what's in red there.
Did one of you have a license? Did you get it through the school?
So through BYU's CS department, you can get all of the MSDNA software for free.
Okay.
So Visio's free for all students, as well as Project and Visual Studio and copies of Windows.
Okay, great. And I'll go back and bring up your. I'm going to have the same problem. You had a rather detailed Gantt chart as well. I assume for the same reason. Okay, let me, come on. Shrink So yeah, that's pretty detailed. Lots and lots of tasks. Any additional comments on your Gantt chart?
I'm almost positive we're going to be late on some of the later tasks, but I feel like kind of starting out, we're focusing on preparing for the demos, and things are starting to get divided up better, and that's something we're working through as well, is how to divide up the different tasks.
And that's a challenge. That's a serious challenge in what you're doing. Okay, let's go down to the next. Most of these will just be right here. Okay, here's pile, and just so you can see, here's the PERT chart. Here's the Gantt chart. This is to a large extent about the level of detail I was sort of expecting. It's a little, you know, one could claim it's a little light, but again, you're on a very short time frame here. Anyone from Pile want to talk about this for a second? Anyone? Yes.
Hi. So yeah, we just kind of try to break it up, kind of how our team is already divided. So we had a front-end team, a back-end team, and a research and development team. So kind of the top lane, which the PERT chart here is the UI and the front-end people. The bottom is the server, and people in between a couple of places is where the research and development people are going to spend most of their time.
Okay.
And then over here is basically built off of the flow chart.
Yes. And yes, there should be pretty decent correlation between your PERT chart and your Gantt chart, since it's supposed to be described in the same project. Prop. Again, here's the, this is the Gantt I did first. Here's the PERT. Got them out of order there. Again, probably about the level of detail I was looking at. Let's talk about this briefly for property owner. Yeah.
Yeah, so, sorry if you can go to the PERT chart first.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so we did this one first just to see what our critical path was. We basically have the front end side, which is like the application side, and the database side, which is on the top. And then after we made the PERT, we went to the Gantt chart, if you go back a slide, and then that was a good indication of how like the parallelity of the project was going to be at the beginning, and then kind of like how everything will merge towards the end. So.
Okay. Wacky compete for a second. Who wants to talk about this? Yeah.
So we have our critical path kind of down the middle. There's a lot of stuff that we're working on simultaneously, so it's all kind of.
Now, I don't see a visual indication of the critical path.
Yeah, well, I just forgot to put in the color.
Okay, well, you need to go back and add that
straight
in.
down the middle is the critical path.
Okay.
But, then our Gantt chart on the other side, we just like indicated via color, like vaguely who would be working on it. So we don't have people on it.
Yep, that's totally legit. Okay, math but more. I know who wants Ken's not here. Who wants to talk about this? Yeah.
That's our PERT chart. The path is in red. Some of the nodes are missing durations, but the duration node is on the Gantt chart, so and it should be a one-to-one mapping. So there's our Gantt chart built in Google Sheets. It just lists the dependencies there, so that one is pretty much our what we'll be following, since we listed not only like the chronological ordering but the dependencies.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've listed the due deadline there as well, November deadline, December deadline.
Okay. CLC Painting. Who wants to talk about this? By the way, this demonstrates a common technique. I'm not sure any of the other ones did, where you simply, we talked about it last week, you simply have some sort of ID within the node, and then you've got a task list on the side where you've got more details. So who wants to talk about this?
So basically, one of the main things about ours is that we have two main groups working. And up to the first prototype, they're going to be pretty independent, and then we're going to be connecting them right at the first prototype, basically.
Yep.
And other than that, I mean, we kind of just have a lot of things going on at once, and then it'll slowly streamline into one path, like most of them.
First prototype there is actually 11/12, not 10/12. Or else you're 3 days late. And there's your. Yes.
I just want to ask, in general, I don't think we mentioned any milestones on ours, but in the industry, what is like a loose concept of what is meant by a milestone?
Well, it's usually we want to have something done or want to look at something by a given date. Now,
Like
the
a
date,
deliverable, or?
yeah, the date can be arbitrarily chosen, but it's kind of like, okay, you know, we're aiming for seeing, well, it's pretty much, for example, what I've done here. You've got 2 demos, and, you know, with recognition, the first one is probably going to be, you know, something pretty static on the screen or whatever, but the idea is to say, this is our reality check. We're going to see what we have done here, because by doing that, it tends to flush problems out of the underbrush. By having a milestone, by saying, you know, we're gonna take a look at this. You have to do a team demo, division demo, company-wide demo on such and such a date. It tends to keep you from delaying. It doesn't prevent you, but it tends to keep you from delaying the hard problems. They get flushed out earlier because you're suddenly thinking of all the things that you've eventually sort of been kicking down the road. So, but as far as industry standard, no, it's going to vary widely from organization to organization. Some will do it strict on a quarterly basis, some will do it strictly on a delivery basis or deliverable basis. Some will have aspirational goals. Okay, GM tools, I couldn't fit these both on, well I could, but you wouldn't be able to see anything. GM tools, who wants to talk about it? Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the critical path there shown down
Yep.
the middle. We've got a lot of separate things for the project, so there's a couple different branching lines going through, but they all come back at the end to be completed. We've also got the things highlighted in blue that we wanted to demonstrate for the demo next month.
Okay. And here's, again, you've seen how much the Gantt charts can vary, and the templates will show that. As you look around different Gantt chart templates, they'll have quite different aspects. Part of the trick on these is that, and I, you know, a lot of you will find yourselves in organizations where this will not be the driver, but you do deliverables because they have something of value. Usually they force you to think through something, they help you to track something, they expose potential issues and problems. That's why critical path is so important on PERT charts, is because as soon as something starts slipping, you immediately see whether or not it's impacting your overall delivery schedule. There's no one true PERT or Gantt chart, is what I'm trying to say. Use what's effective. Life tracker, let's talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a critical path into
Yep.
The one thing, so our timeframes are pretty short, our things are pretty simple.
Mhm.
So one thing we didn't put on there that we can, after those final tests, basically is the additional features that we can add.
Yep.
We have a lot of time if things go late, right? But if things don't and things are on time, we'll have lots of time to go through and do extra functionality.
Which is a great approach to have. If you can get it done ahead of time, just don't tell managers, okay? You know, because here's true story. I was part of a team that came in to review, actually, a certain financial organization whose name I won't give. But what's in your wallet? That I've done reviews for over a 15-year period at various times. They did a complete revamp of their customer-facing website for credit card holders. And against all odds, it delivered on schedule. And the developers and programmers involved said it was almost sheer luck. We flushed out the critical bugs early. We did this. We used a lot of chewing gum and baling wire, and we incurred a lot of technical debt. And they got it up there, and management's response was not, oh, okay, that's great. Now go back and take the time to clean up all the stuff you did was quick and dirty. They said, oh, that was great. Now we want version 2.0 in the same time frame. And the developers were like, no. And we got dragged in because it wasn't on the same time frame. And what we said is, guys, it's a miracle it shipped on time the first time. You're now asking for a miracle a second time in a row And you're doing it on a much weaker infrastructure because there is all this technical debt. The problem you'll face with management is when you do scale your project, it's like, okay, we're just going to do this, this, and this, and we'll get this done in time. Management will see that and will say, great, now do it over again. My daughter Crystal has gone through the exact same thing at work, where again, they got something new up and running. It was, you know, and they waved their hands and said, look, this is not scalable the way we built it. We need to go back and redo the whole database back end and so on. And management's response was, okay, now we want you to expand this to 5 times the current customer base. They said, no, we have to rebuild, we have to redo the database architecture. Oh, no, you got it all done. Just make it support 5 times as many customers now. It's like, it can't. You know, this was built for a specific target base, and it was built very badly because you wanted it on time. So yeah, it's great to build in Slack to your schedule. Okay, Snake Dan, what's up?
So that's our big, beautiful
Yep.
chart. You can see the red little line going there. It's a little bit thin, but
I can see it.
going right through the middle there. And then, so the big one at the top is our November deadline. The one down at the bottom is the December deadline,
Yep.
where you'll see
Two
some
different
things.
critical paths.
Yeah,
That's
some
good.
things don't actually. We had a lot of things also that like weren't necessary for
Yep.
any of the thing, but came all in at the end. Like adding to the player, we just kind of, that just all sorts of feeds into the final deadline. Those are also things we can kind of throw out if we don't
Yep.
have enough time. So.
Good approach. And there's this is a little sparse as a Gantt chart just because usually a Gantt chart is tied to actual calendar days and simply saying working days. But for the sake of this project here, given how short it is, I'm not particularly bothered by that. But in the real world, if you're doing a Gantt chart, typically they will want calendar days or weeks somewhere so they can compare it against actual scheduled date. Game puzzle. Puzzle RPG. What's side of this? Is anyone here?
I guess so.
Okay.
Project manager now. He's out in the country. Floating country. Anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what.
Oh, you've got critical path. Yeah, we're at the point where we've already seen like a dozen of these. It's kind of like, yeah, and look, it's got a critical path.
Got some attacks.
Little boxes.
Stuff.
And
Similar
here you-
thing where we don't have calendar dates, but we do have days.
Yep. Okay. Now this one was a touch sparse. Is anyone here from data analytics?
Try it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we made it really sparse because we only put on there the MVP features that we want on the product.
Okay.
And what we did is each one of those bubbles we broke down into tasks. So there's a list of tasks for each of those.
Okay.
And it was a really long,
List.
and so I was like, well.
That's fine. Again, this is, you know, any chart like this is an abstraction. It's a necessary abstraction. And really, you know, unless you want like 300 bubbles there, any given bubble is going to encompass a number of tasks. So as long as you're comfortable that this is, and you notice you've got bigger chunks here as far as, I assume those are days.
Days.
Yeah. If you've got that and you're tracking that, and you know how much, the only risk with big chunks is that's where it's very easy to fall, as we're going to talk about metrics, into, oh, yeah, we're about 80% done there. It's where you need to go in and say, okay, do we really have 80% of the schedule based on the breakdown of tasks done within there? And here's corresponding Gantt chart. Okay. This was a nice complex one. Who wants to talk about this one? Anyone?
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Project manager.
Step up.
Yeah, that's our charts. So it's broken down. Like we have the bubbles, which is the
Yep.
symbols on that. They correspond down.
And once again, you've broken it into the November and December, which is a nice approach. And that's not a bad approach anyway, particularly if you're trying to adapt any of these techniques for, say, an agile thing where you're doing sprints. If you're doing longer sprints, if you're doing week sprints, it's not worth it. True story. And Eric was brought in to help them. They had the network management subsystem for the Iridium satellite project. I was there to help them because they didn't have an architecture. Bob Miller was there to help them because they were behind schedule as well. Eric had this extremely formal software development process. They had like 2 or 3 binders of documents that described what had to be done. And the process required, you develop, and then there were forms you had to fill out and get approvals and reviews for the code that you were submitting to go into test. And then if it went through test, it had to go through review and get submitted into the build. But because they were behind schedule, and this is over 20 years ago, it's like 22 years ago. It's like, okay, we're going to do this cool new things. We're going to do weekly deliveries. And after about 2 weeks of that, I went into the woman who was the head of their software development process, and I said, you realize that by taking your current methodology and requiring weekly builds, that developers have about 8 hours on Tuesday to code. All the other tasks that are required for your methodology soak up the entire rest of the week. They've got all the stuff they have to do on Monday, they can code for 8 hours, and then it takes them Wednesday and Thursday to get everything ready so you can do a build on Friday. I said they're not going to get anything done. The programmers are programming 8 hours a week, that's all they can do. You've either got to simplify the methodology tremendously or stop trying to do weekly builds.
Question.
Yeah.
Can you explain the colors? Maybe just because I can't read it.
I didn't.
Well, it says like write up, and then blue is design. The last one's test. So I know the greens are quality assurance. I think is what it stands for is Q.
Oh, I see.
Looks like a lot of blue ones lead with the word design.
Write up, design, test. Here would be the 3 main colors there. Which is a nice breakdown. And here's their. So write up sounds like it's actually write up, we're talking about specification.
No, I think we're talking about the games. This is the text based.
Well, it says write up. Oh, yeah, there you go, the game itself.
So there are probably 3 teams.
So then you've got design and then implement for the second level, and then it's QA for the third. Okay, social media for who wants to? Yes.
Yeah, we just chunked it up into like features or pages or something like that, and just kind of split it up. We have 4 people on our team, so we just split it up between what each of those 4 people will be doing. Between the UI description, data, and database. We've got our critical path in red.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you've got a chunk for the 2 demos.
Yeah.
Great. And there's the corresponding Gantt chart. Okay, PartMe actually did separate things for back end and front end. Let's talk about this. Yeah.
All right, so this is for the back end. You can see the critical path is the darker blue. And we kind of split it into 2 phases. The top phase is for the November demo, the bottom is for the December. Since the back end has so many different paths they can travel down, things to explore, that's why there's not many critical things in the December one, so you can kind of just explore what you want.
Okay.
And the front end is the same way. There's really only 1 critical path in the front end, and it's everything because we need to get it all done. So yeah, that's that.
The only question I had on your diagrams, and these actually all look fine, but what dependencies are there between front end and back end? Because I assume they actually do have to integrate with it at some point.
They do have a dependency. It's going to be the API definition, and one of the first things that back end is going to do about that is just write a dummy data generator that will just pass back hard-coded data that's in the shape that the front end expects, and then both front end and back end will work off of that assumption.
And that's that. Anyway, like I said, I'm very happy. I've had some questions because I haven't done any grading yet of the deliverables, but some of you have wanted to go back and review or revamp your requirements. actually fill them out a bit more. So I've been holding off. I will probably start, I'll give you all about, let's see. Give you all about another week, and I'll start grading the deliverables that have been submitted to date. I think most of you have gotten the feedback here in class as to whether or not I thought it was a bit sparse. If you have any questions, let me know. But like I said, all of these, I'm fine with all of these. So don't worry about revamping this, except as it helps you, because that's the purpose, is for these to help you. Okay, let me switch, do my editing.